I remember the day my world shattered. The day I discovered that the love of my life had been living a lie. Every kiss, every whisper, every promise was a betrayal. The memories we shared, the laughter, the tears, it all felt like a cruel joke. I recall the words she spoke, "I love you," but they were just empty echoes. The pain was suffocating, the heartache unbearable. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of deceit, unable to find my way back to the surface. But in the depths of that despair, a spark ignited. A spark of determination, of resilience, of revenge. I decided to play along, to pretend that everything was fine, all while secretly plotting my revenge. I convinced her that we should start anew, that we should move in together. But little did she know, it was all part of my plan. A plan to leave her stranded, to make her face the consequences of her actions. Join me on this journey of heartache, betrayal, and ultimately, redemption. A story of how I pretended to forgive, only to unleash a twist that would change everything. In the bustling city of New Haven, where the skyline sparkled like a million stars, I found myself in a precarious situation. My heart was shattered, but my mind was sharp. Emily, the woman I had loved fiercely for 3 years, had betrayed me with a man I once considered a friend. The betrayal cut deep, but instead of succumbing to despair, I decided to take control of my narrative. It was a chilly autumn evening when I confronted Emily about her infidelity. We sat on the couch in our cozy apartment, the fireplace crackling softly as the shadows danced across her face. I held her hands, trying to keep my emotions in check. "I need time to process this," I said, feigning vulnerability. She poured out her apologies, tears streaming down her cheeks as she begged for forgiveness. "I love you," she insisted, her voice trembling with remorse. I nodded slowly, pretending to absorb her words. "Let's start fresh," I suggested, planting the seed of an idea that would ultimately become my masterstroke. "What if we moved in together? A new beginning." Her eyes lit up with hope as she eagerly agreed, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath my calm surface. Over the next few weeks, we planned our move. Emily was excitedly packing her belongings, sharing her dreams of our future together. She would often snuggle up close to me, whispering sweet nothings in my ear, and I played along, pretending that everything was fine. But while she was busy dreaming about our life together, I was meticulously crafting my revenge. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, Emily leaned over and kissed me softly. It was a gentle, loving kiss, but it felt like a betrayal. I forced myself to reciprocate, all the while thinking about the plan unfolding in my mind. I reached out to her lover under the guise of friendship, pretending to be unaware of their affair. "Hey man, Emily and I are moving in together next month. You should come help us out." Little did he know that this was all part of my plan. One night, as I was out running errands, I decided to follow Emily. She had told me she was going to a book club meeting, but I knew better. I tracked her to a small cafe on the outskirts of town, where she met her lover. They sat in a corner, laughing and holding hands. It was a painful sight, but I watched, my anger simmering just below the surface. As they left the cafe, I followed them from a distance. They walked to a nearby park, where they shared a passionate kiss under the stars. It was a moment that should have been mine, but instead, it was stolen by her deceit. Days turned into weeks, and our moving day was fast approaching. Emily was excited, but I could sense a hint of nervousness in her voice. One evening, as we were packing up the last of our belongings, she received a call. She excused herself, stepping outside to answer it. I watched from the window as she spoke, her expression changing from calm to panic. She rushed back inside, her eyes wide with fear. "What's wrong?" I asked, feigning concern. "It's my lover," she whispered. "He's been threatening to expose our affair to everyone if I don't leave you for him." I smiled inwardly, knowing that this was the perfect opportunity to tighten the noose around her neck. "Don't worry, we'll face it together," I reassured her, all the while thinking about how this would play into my plan. The day finally arrived. The sun shone brightly as we loaded up the moving truck with Emily's belongings. She was cheerful and excited, blissfully unaware of the trap I had set for her. As we finished loading up the last box, I casually mentioned that I needed to make a quick stop before heading to our new place. "Where are we going?" she asked, curiosity dancing in her eyes. "To drop off some things at your friend's house," I replied smoothly. As we drove through the city streets, my heart raced with anticipation. We pulled up to a quaint little house that belonged to her lover. "Just wait here," I instructed Emily as I hopped out of the truck. I knocked on the door and was greeted by a surprised face, her lover himself. "Hey man. Just dropping off some stuff for Emily," I said nonchalantly as he stepped aside to let me in. With a swift motion, I began unloading box after box from the truck and stacking them neatly in his living room. Meanwhile, Emily sat in the truck, confusion etched across her face as she watched me through the rearview mirror. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I turned back to her with a grin that could only be described as triumphant. "Surprise!" I shouted as she stepped out of the truck. Her expression shifted from confusion to horror as realization dawned on her. "What is going on?" she stammered, glancing between me and her lover's bewildered face. "Welcome to your new home," I said coldly. "You wanted a fresh start? Here it is." Emily's face flushed with anger and embarrassment as she realized what had just happened. "You can't be serious," she shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Oh, but I am," I replied calmly. "You chose him over me, now you can live with your choice." As I turned to leave, Emily rushed after me, pleading for forgiveness. But it was too late. I had given her my heart once, and she had shattered it into a million pieces. Just as I was about to drive away, Emily's lover stepped forward, his eyes blazing with anger. "You knew all along, didn't you?" he accused, his voice rising. I smiled, feeling a sense of satisfaction. "Yes, I did. And now, you two can enjoy your new life together." With that final blow delivered, I turned on my heel and walked away from the chaos behind me, leaving Emily stranded at her lover's house with all her belongings dumped unceremoniously at his doorstep. As I drove away from that scene of poetic justice, a sense of relief washed over me. Revenge had never been my intention, it was merely a consequence of betrayal. But now it felt liberating to reclaim my power and move forward without the weight of deceit holding me back. In New Haven's vibrant streets filled with life and opportunity, I knew that this chapter was closed, and a new one awaited just around the corner. I took a deep breath, letting the cool breeze fill my lungs, and smiled. The city lights twinkled like stars, promising a brighter future ahead. Months later, I found myself at a quaint cafe, sipping coffee and watching the world go by. I had moved on, found new love, and was living a life free from the shadows of betrayal. Her name was Sophia, a beautiful woman with a heart full of kindness. We met at a bookstore, bonding over our shared love of literature. As I looked out at the bustling streets, I realized that sometimes, the best revenge is not to seek revenge at all, but to rise above it and find happiness on your own terms. Sophia walked into the cafe, her smile lighting up the room. She sat beside me, and we shared a tender kiss. And so, I closed that chapter of my life, grateful for the lessons learned and the strength I had found within myself. The city of New Haven remained vibrant and full of life, but for me, it was no longer a place of heartache. It was a reminder of resilience and the power of moving forward. Years later, I received a message from Emily. She was alone, her relationship with her lover having ended in disaster. She apologized for her past mistakes, hoping for forgiveness. I replied, not with anger or resentment, but with kindness. Forgiveness is not for you, it's for me. I forgave you long ago, not for your sake, but for mine. I moved on and found happiness. I hope you do the same. And with that, I closed the final chapter of our story, leaving the past where it belonged, behind me.